Surah Ad-Dhuhaa. Surah Ad-Dhuhaa is a surah that really links. I think afterwards as well, inshallah, tomorrow we should take some gifts to the neighbour if they've been troubled. If someone could take it upon themselves. He said we can have someone take some gifts and things to that neighbour. Sure. Tashreef bil-taklif. The honour comes with responsibility. We have an honour as people of belief. And so we need to, it comes with responsibility. Surah Ad-Dhuhaa. So this is really a surah that links us to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we start at the beginning of it before, Ad-Dhuhaa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by the mid-morning. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. And the night in its stillness. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Your Lord has not disowned you, He's not abhorred you. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. And the next life is better for you than this life. وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And we will give you, O Muhammad, until you are content. And we read what the Prophet ﷺ's response was that when he had that revelation. إِذَا وَاللَّهِ, if that's the case, but Allah, I will not be content until everyone, all of my ummah is out of the fire. So then, we have some verses which are a collection of ni'mas, a collection of bounties upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Did we not find you as an orphan and looked after you? وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. And we saw you in an astray love, and we guided you. وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. And we found you with impoverishment, and we enriched you. Right? So so asking the Prophet ﷺ to reflect on this. Now, for some of us, being an orphan, being impoverished, being in a state of heedlessness or not knowing where to go, all sounds like quite negative things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we found you in these states, but look what happened. You know, you're an orphan, yet what happened? His father passed away before he was born, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His mother passes away when he was 6 years old. He goes into the lap of Abdul Muttalib, his grandfather. Then he goes to Abu Talib. So he's looked after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks after him. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's Allah that brought me up. It's Allah that brought me up and gave me this tarbiyah, gave me this upbringing. So he as an orphan, he went to Abdul Muttalib, Abu Talib. Then وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. And we fancy, and whenever I look at this verse, it's always translated the same, and we found you misguided. This is an absolutely, and I want this clear amongst everyone here, this is an absolutely wrong translation of this verse. Okay, Dal has many meanings. Dal can be ghafla, heedless. Dal can be misguided. Dal can be lots of things. In this case, it's muhabba. Okay, it's in a state of love. So, for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالُوا تَاللَّهِ إِنَّكَ لَفِي ضَلَالِكَ الْقَدِيمِ to Ya'qub alayhi salam. Ya'qub alayhi salam at the time, he was a prophet alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he gets the news that he's no longer, and you remember how upset he was. And this is the verse about this. And the brothers came and they said, oh, by Allah, you are in your old dalal. You're in your dalal state. This doesn't mean he was misguided. He's a prophet. He's a prophet. He's not misguided. Dalal here is muhabba. And this is perfectly clear in the Arabic language. This is an option for dalal. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he was in the cave of Hira, searching, he hadn't yet had Nabuwah, but he was searching for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shirk didn't enter into his heart. You know, he was kept safe by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the time he was born to Nabuwah. These 40 years is what the Nabuwah lent upon. There wasn't any misguidance. There wasn't a message yet. He was kept safe by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want it to be really clear that this is a wrong translation of the verse, and it should be thought about in this sort of yearning love the direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him. وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى, and we found you in a state of impoverishment and we enriched you. The Prophet ﷺ had many periods of his life when he was extremely poor, monetary wise, but he always had dignity. He was always a person of dignity in terms of his birthrights, also being from the Quraysh and Banu Hashim, etc. He had that dignity always with him. But there were times when monetary wise he was very, very poor. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Sayyidina Khadija, who monetary wise was very wealthy. And then, so these are the ni'mas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing that He gave to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. So therefore, as for the orphan, then don't revoke them, right? Don't be harsh to the orphan. As an orphan, it's hard enough when you're older and you lose your parents. At any age, any people who've lost a parent know how hard it is. You become like one of my supervisors. He lost his dad, and I said, "I'm sorry for the loss." And he said, "You know what? It's the first time of being an orphan." The guy was 65, but he said it's an experience of being an orphan. But being an orphan, I was dropping off my daughter the other day to school. I don't usually. My wife usually does the school run. But I dropped her off and she went into the classroom. But just before she went in, she just, that glance back, just to make sure he's still watching. And I thought, SubhanAllah, what if I wasn't looking at that time and she sees me and I was walking away? Children are so sensitive that could really upset their day. What is it for an orphan who doesn't have someone to glance at them, who doesn't have someone to look after them, who doesn't have anyone to attach to them? Even if they go to, the best will in the world with foster parents or adopted parents or what have you, it's never quite the same. And I deal with lots of people who've been adopted, and it's never quite the same. So it's having to be as supportive and as gentle as possible for the orphan. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said the person who looks after an orphan and me would be like this in Jannah together, and he held his two fingers together. It's the closeness that you'd be with the Prophet ﷺ if you look after an orphan. So, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And as for the person who asks, do not revoke them, do not push them away. If someone comes to you and they ask for something, if they're in a state of need, obviously it's good to give them. Sometimes you're unsure whether to give them, right? People make a lot of money begging in certain places, but that's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, between you and them, it's not. You shouldn't revoke them. So even if you're not going to give them anything, is to not be angry with them, not to say harsh things to them, not to get angry with them. That's the minimum that we have to do for someone who asks. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And as for the blessings of your Lord, then talk about it, spread it. Spread the sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to spread the message of Islam. We need to spread the message of the Quran. We need to spread the message of adab. People should see us coming to the center and think, what is that? What is that? Who are these people? Who are these people? With nur on their faces. With that level of courtesy to other people. Look how they park their cars. Look how they leave afterwards. It's late at night. Look how they're so respectful. This is what we want for people. Look at the smell coming from these people. How beautiful it is. The oud that's being burnt. This is what we need to give hadith about. We need to give glad tidings that this is our tradition. This is our deen. But we need to take it up. We need to take it seriously. We need to hold on to it. Otherwise, we're going to be responsible, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change us for others. Alhamdulillah, we had another shahada just this evening. We've had several this Ramadan, alhamdulillah. People are ready, but are we still ready? How's our faith? As people have been in this deen for a while now, how's our faith? Are we connecting to these surahs when they're being read? Are we connecting? We need to make sure that we're not just doing our 20 and going home and doing the job and ticking the box. There's a reason for variety of recitation after each Surah Al-Fatiha. That's an amazing thing. We have a part of our prayer which is fixed. We have a part of our prayer which is flexible, and we can choose what we recite. I find that amazing. We have a flexible part of our ibadah to the Lord of all the worlds. He's given us choice in that. But we have to then reflect on the meanings and have a think about it and instill it within ourselves. We have to instill it within ourselves. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And one of the greatest ni'mas then after that is أَلَمْ نَشْرَحْ لَكَ صَدْرَكَ inshaAllah. We'll continue with that tomorrow. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.